Nate Allen is a poi spinner based out of Layton, Utah. Many of you might be fans of my three poi, and Nate is the man who inspired me to pick up a third. He's incredibly passionate about poi and life in general. It's an honor to have Nate Allen as our third guest on the podcast. Enjoy the episode and let us know what you think in the comments below. Welcome to the Poidcast. What's up, Nate? Thank you so much for joining me, man.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
You were one of the first people to hit me up about being on the podcast when I had shared on my Instagram story that I was going to do it. And so it seems fitting that you should be the third guest.
Yeah, that's sweet. I definitely heard it, like that you were making it a long time ago and was like really excited to see it happen. And as I was just saying before we recorded, it's been really cool to see like everything, all the work that you put into it and see this like big production come out that's really high quality. So mad props to you.
Thank you. Yeah, where it's been something that I've wanted to do for years now because I love podcasting and I also love poi. And there's no, I mean, to my knowledge, there's not really a large major podcast about poi. So really wanted to do it. So thank you again for being a part of it. So let's go back to the beginning. How were you introduced to flow arts and what year did you start?
It's a great question. So back in 2014, I had like just moved out of my parents' house. I was 17 years old. And my roommates, or one of my roommates, went to Element 11, which is the regional Burning Man here in Utah. And he came back with a pair of like practice poi. They were like sock poi with those classic black and white stripes. And so he was just jamming them constantly. And I picked up a couple of moves, learned like the butterfly and the forward 3-beat weave. And was like, this is pretty cool. And then just hit like a roadblock and like couldn't learn the backwards 3-beat weave. And I didn't pick up poi for like another 2 years after that. And then I was, yeah. So it was a couple of years. I kind of had this weird like internal battle, like, maybe that's my friend's thing. Like, I don't want to steal his thing. And then I was working this sales job and, like every time you got a sale, you could go like play a game. And one of the games that they had there was ladder golf. If you've seen that, it's like basically like mini meteors. And I just started picking them up and spinning them because I was like, I know how to do a 3-beat weave. Watched the tutorial at work, learned the backwards 3-beat weave, and then it was just like history from there. Just started learning everything I could and bought a pair of pod poi a couple weeks later.
Interesting. And so you started around, like, you were first introduced around 2014, but you really would say that you considered actually starting in around like 2016?
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. Wow. That's surprising. Not to diminish the amount of time that, 2016 until 2023 is, but it's just, I think I see your style and it just strikes me as being a person who has been doing it for a long time because you're very like just attention to detail oriented with everything that you do for contact rolls and all your stall points and just intricate patterns that you're making. So props, man. That's awesome.
I appreciate that. Yeah, honestly, it's I feel like despite the amount of time that you've been spinning, it's really about the amount of time that you've put in. So I would say I probably hit that 10,000 hour mark by now. The first couple of years I was spinning, it was like 24/7. They were with me all the time. So
yeah, Joey has been like that. He's only been spinning for about a year and a half and he's already so far on 3 poi and stuff. So it's really crazy. Sweet. But people that are starting now, their baseline is so much higher than it was before because the amount of knowledge that we have just surrounding us is so much greater than it was 10 years ago. So people can get very good very quickly if they really care about it,
Yeah.
So just I was going to say, tell me, we actually ran into each other at Kindle this most recent year, and I wanted to ask you, what were some of the highlights of your experience for Kindle?
Oh man, that festival was amazing. That was the first time I'd been to Kindle, and like I know it was Packfire before, but that venue, like that's the biggest thing that stuck out in my head was the fact that you can be like camping in the forest, and then you can walk down to the beach and be spinning fire. I was just blown away by that. But on top of that, like the quality of workshops that were there was insane. Like Willow, Hindi, like those are already 2 huge names. And then there was like a ton of other people that were teaching really good workshops there, like constantly Voita was there.
Yeah,
so
I was just about to say.
Yeah. So, it was just like a really high quality experience. I learned a lot and that's really cool to be able to go to a festival after having such a large base of moves that you have already, have your own style that you've kind of built, and then still be able to
Hmm.
go and learn so much and have your mind blown. So really cool
Well,
experience.
yeah, and like you were saying, kind of already having your style, and then going into those to those workshops, you can take what they're teaching you and kind of apply it in your own way and make it fit
Yeah.
the mold that you're already working with. So I definitely agree with you there. Voita's workshop was very fun. It was on tosses, and I'm all
Yeah.
about tosses, so I had a lot of fun doing that. I think my favorite part of Kindle, well, there's a couple parts, but I'd say one of my favorite parts was the performances at the gala were incredible.
Oh yeah.
The venue was beautiful. Oh man, that was unreal.
Yeah.
Um, the variety of performances that we had. I mean, I'm pretty sure there was only one or two poi performances and
Yeah. Yeah.
Voita, and then there was like a double pair that were doing stuff. I forget their names, but yeah. And then the fire circle was unbelievable down. I mean, it was just such a huge area, so many talented people just tearing it up all
Yeah.
night. I went so hard.
Yeah, like all night, like you got to keep spinning. And one of my favorite things, I was looking at videos afterwards and I was watching just like the fire circle kind of slowly morphing, everyone spinning to the song. And then the drop hits and you just see everyone go hard. And that was such a cool sight to see, not only in person, but to be able to reflect on that afterwards.
Yeah, man, I went super hard. And then the workshops, of course, because yeah, Hindy's workshop was awesome. He's a guest that I'm gonna have on very soon. Hopefully you're watching this, Hindy. You're
Sweet.
next, brother. But yeah, Kindle was a blast. Are you going back this year?
I really want to. It's on my list for sure.
You
Yeah.
should. You
Yeah.
should. If we end up caravanning with our Boise crew, we're definitely, hopefully, we'll have some space for other folks who want to pitch along with us. But
Yeah, that'd be fun.
so on the lines of like these bigger events, festivals, and everything, do you have any goals as far as like performances or classes that you want to teach at a desired festival or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm much more into instructing than I am performing. Not that I don't like performing, but I've always liked teaching in general, and then being able to teach poi is just really cool. It's more of like this community-based experience where you have people that can like talk to you during the class, and so I've really enjoyed that. I've mostly only taught at like local festivals so far. I was going to teach at Great Lakes last year, but I ended up getting COVID like when I got to
No,
Michigan, so that was a real big bummer.
no.
But
Oh my gosh. And you had to fly home
yeah, oh no, I
after.
had drove out there, yeah,
Oh,
so
okay.
yeah, it
Okay.
was like a
Wow.
long road trip, and then I just had to like send it all the way home from Michigan
No,
after
oh my
that.
gosh, that's terrible. So I know that Kindle's on a possible docket for you this year. Are you attending any other? You're going to Element 11, which is the local
Yeah.
one. Nice.
Yeah, yeah, I'm really excited about E11 this year. I don't know if you know, but I actually run a theme camp and have like a really good team of people that help me run it, and have really like stepped it up this year, especially. So this is an idea that I've had for a long time, but we wanted to have like a flow arts based theme camp at Element 11 because that was kind of missing there. There was like a singular fire circle, but we wanted to add another one, and so we did it for our first time last year, and it was like a really fun experience. The burn really liked having us there, and so this year we're going like even bigger. We're going to have like a really cool sound system and fire circle and teaching a bunch of workshops throughout the day. So
Hell
really
yeah.
excited about that.
Representing. That's awesome. You guys
Yeah.
have a really solid group down in Ogden. It was funny when I was living in Salt Lake City just a few years ago, and I had seen your three poi videos. You inspired me to get into three poi initially. So it was funny. I was watching all your three poi videos and I was learning a little bit of three poi, just kind of getting my feet wet in it. And then I learned that you were in Ogden and I was in Salt Lake. And I was like, what? This man is 30 minutes away from me. Holy crap.
Yeah.
So we met up and it's just so crazy. You taught me how to do a two poi one hand carryover. I mean, just the most basic two poi one hand stuff you were teaching me back then, and it's just really awesome. You kind of gave me a really good head start into the three poi world because I hadn't just never tried, even though I had been spinning poi for 10 years at that time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool to hear that because you picked up three poi so fast and have just been like going ham on it and getting really good at three poi ever since then. So yeah, I'm definitely honored to be able to have taught you one of those first moves.
You know, it's funny. It's funny that you say that because I remember you saying something along the lines of three just make sense to me early on. And you just said that there was the right amount of stuff going on with three. Tell
Yeah.
me about that. How long had you been spinning two poi before you got into three?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably like 4 or 5 months. So when I had first started getting into poi, I had a couple of friends who were like huge into poi at that moment and had been starting to spend 3 and 4 poi. So I was like, I gotta catch up, like I gotta learn what they're doing. But yeah, like I ended up spending like 6 months almost solely on 3 poi at that point. And then I hit this wall and I was like, I don't know like what else to do. And then I realized it's because I hadn't like learned enough basics with 2 poi. So I kind of went back
Mm.
to 2 poi after that. And since then I've spent a lot more time on that than 3 poi. But hopefully I'll make it back one day.
It's really interesting because I think that I had such a solid base for two poi because I had spent so much of my life going through different weave patterns and just a whole gambit of different styles with two poi. And then when I got into three poi, I felt like I was ready to incorporate all the things that I had learned with two poi and like try to make it work with three and go for a desired outcome. But yeah, it's very different. It is very different than two. Getting that control takes quite a while, to be honest. So it was really
Yeah.
interesting that you had gravitated towards three so early. Who were you spinning with that time that kind of inspired you to get into three?
Yeah, so one of the guys, he's still like my really close friend, Alex Suzuki. He's Suzukio on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
He does double meteor now, but yeah, he's like one of the best double meteor spinners out there, and so he's always inspired me to get better, and especially like you were saying earlier, really focus on being clean and making sure that you're actually hitting those points and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I met Alex in Liberty Park for one of the last drum circles or something that we had met up there for. But yeah, his double meteor game is crazy. Shout out to
Yeah,
Alex.
yeah.
That's really cool. And I would say, like, what is your overall favorite festival that you've been to so far? Would you say it's been Kindle or the local one that you enjoyed more?
Ooh, I'd have to put it between Kindle and Equilibrium last year. I had a great time at both of those. Equilibrium was like my first really big flow festival that I had been to. I went to like a smaller one that was like on its first year before, but I got that full experience of the fire circle and all of that at Equilibrium. A ton of awesome people there. I participated in the battle, so that was really fun.
Oh,
Um,
nice. That is something I
yeah,
really want to do. I think it's such a cool part of flow arts because with dancing, there's like dance battles and
yeah,
it's in good fun and it's in good spirits to like push each
yeah.
other and try to throw down the coolest lines that you can think of. So I really want to do the battle. Who ended up winning that? Do you remember?
Oh, that,
Or it
yeah.
was like in the finals. Like, do you remember?
It's Mike. He's a hooper. I forget what his
Oh,
Instagram name is.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know his last name, but that hoop guy on Instagram.
Yeah, yeah.
Shout
He's
out to Mike.
so good.
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh. Yeah, he did
yeah.
a performance at Kindle as well. That's the reason that I know who he
That's
is.
right. That's right. Yeah, really down to earth guy, and he just like not only is he a good hooper, but he's a really good performer, and so he's able to like keep your attention when he's on stage. He did some like really cool stuff with hoops where he'd like balance it on one finger and like wag it at the other person that he's balancing,
Yeah.
just like these little taunts. It was really cool to watch.
Yeah, that is so cool. He did it in the performance in Kindle. Each one of the little parts of your finger, he was balancing the hoop
Yeah,
on different parts of his finger. It was amazing. I
yeah,
was
that's
front
such
row for that
control.
performance. I could not believe it. It was amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool, man. I definitely want to make it out to Equilibrium at some point. I've only attended two flow arts festivals, only Kindle and Southwest. So even though I've
Oh,
been a
sweet.
part of Poi and the Poi community for a long time, I haven't actually been to a lot of events. So I'm really excited to get my feet wet a little bit more and get out there because that's really what it's all about. I
Yeah.
feel.
Yeah, I was in the same boat. Like I had been spinning for like 3 or 4 years and had never gone to a flow festival. And then it was like 2020 and I was definitely going to do it that year. And then obviously that couldn't happen. And then 2021, like most of them got canceled. And so last year I definitely went hard. Excited to keep that up this year.
I think a lot of people did. They had missed these bigger events, especially if they had already been to flow festivals or just kind of wanting something bigger. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this year. Hopefully, I can make it to as many as I can. Thinking about fire drums, that's a possible list that I'm
Yeah, it's on
making.
my mind too.
Yeah, but Kindle for sure. Me and my Boise crew are gonna make Kindle happen. So if
Sweet.
anybody's going there, we'll see you. Plan for that. It's an amazing
Yeah.
festival in Oregon. If you don't know where it is, and so tell me about getting signed on to Flow and Fire as a sponsor. When did that happen, and how did that kind of come about?
Yeah, so let's see. That was the end of 2019. So yeah, I had been really just like grinding, trying to get better, trying to post as much as I could, because I really wanted that sponsorship. I had been seeing people like Austin Witherspoon and Logan Harris get the
Hmm.
Flow on Fire sponsorship, and those are some of the people that I've always really looked up to in the poi world. And so I just really wanted to be part of that team, and so I was grinding as hard as I could. And Austin actually like reached out to me at one point and was like, hey, like, have you ever considered getting sponsored? And I was like, yeah, that would be awesome. And so he kind of started that conversation with Britt and Kel. And yeah, I got the exciting message in like December of 2019, like, hey, we'd like to invite you to the team. And just like jumped up and was like, yes, finally. And
Hell
yeah, it was a
yeah.
really exciting moment.
Hell yeah, it's a huge moment. I think,
Yeah.
we put so much of ourselves into this art, and it's really awesome to be able to represent somebody that we believe in or a company that we believe in.
Yeah.
And Flow and Fire for me has been a company that's treated me very well,
Yeah.
and a lot of our sponsors, and really hooked me up with a lot of experiences or opportunities to go out to festivals and
Yeah.
perform, or teach workshops or something. So they've really helped me a lot for sure, and it's awesome that you're a part of the same team. Yeah, Logan, I'm bummed out that I never met Logan, because I was kind of only in Salt Lake for a little bit, a number of years before moving back to Boise. But I was able to meet a number of those people down there, and it's kind of wild how amazing the talent is in Utah. Isn't it
Yeah.
crazy?
There's something in
Com-
the water or the air or something like
yeah.
that. That's what we always say.
Yeah, because I feel like there's so many amazing artists that have come out of Salt Lake City for a number of years, going back to even 10 years ago when Hindi and Justin,
Yeah.
or excuse me, Hindi and Wyatt were running it down there. It's just amazing to see the progression and the kind of um, the newer generation with like you and Austin and Logan kind of representing and stuff. Even though I'm not living in Salt Lake anymore, I still claim Salt Lake as being my
Oh
my
yeah.
home. So yeah.
Yeah, you picked
Uh,
a lot up when you were out here, so that's you definitely get that claim for sure.
I really did. You know what's funny is Liberty Park drum circle every Sunday was really where I learned so much of what I know now. And we just had so many people down there that were spinning poi and trying to
Yeah.
learn from each other and bounce ideas off each other. And it was just such a good upbringing for me, because I had exposure to so many different styles. People were
Yeah.
doing all kinds of different stuff, so I just gravitated more towards contact boy for a while, and it's just been my favorite. Contact boy is like, I will always love contact. It is as good as I get at juggling, as good as I get at three poi. There's just a special place in my heart for contact poi, like
Yeah.
two poi for sure.
Yeah, contact is just so satisfying. Like it, being able to feel it follow that line perfectly is like one of the coolest feelings, and that balance. It kind of it reminds me of like the dynamic that kicks you into that flow state, right? Like it's that line between where difficulty and ability meet, and I feel like contact
Mm.
really emphasizes that.
So true. Yeah, I remember learning folding lines initially, and I was like, man, there's just no way I'm gonna ever be able to get them super consistent on both arms. And yeah, just eventually throughout the years of drilling, my right arm and getting really consistent with my dominant, and then realizing that, hey, this isn't over. I need to learn it on my left hand too. Just
Yep.
getting my left hand really consistent. And then that really just opened the doors for me to be creative, because I had the expertise and the tools to be able to make it happen. I just had to envision the pattern and figure out a way for it to work. And I feel like that's a lot of the times what creating a unique two poi sequence or like trick, a lot of that just comes down to being able to do everything, of course, but figuring out a way to make it come together in a way that looks like nice.
Yeah, yeah. It's really cool. Like for me, I really struggled with the idea of creativity before I found poi. Like I always hated arts and crafts just because I didn't feel like I was good at it, and I would always like look around at the other kids in the class, and mine was like the worst project. And so when I finally
Yeah.
discovered flow arts, it was yeah, like gave me that ability to see something and manifest it. So
Nice. It's funny that we got to talk about contact. Joey, if you want to cue that video, we were actually going to take a look at some of your flow, just so some of you could see it as well, that are watching this. Your style with gunslingers and contact and everything that you do, your box styles, just culminated into such a unique style. That's why you inspired me to get into 3-point in the first place, because you're so methodical with all of the angles and points that you create. It's beautiful to watch, man.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, this is a good one. I'm glad you picked this
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, totally. I was searching YouTube for some of your stuff, and this is definitely a video that I very much enjoy. We got some contact poi and some fire, so very
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Where did
It
you film
was
this?
So this was actually filmed when I was doing my Flow on Fire interview, when the filmographer came out and all that. And so we recorded some like footage while we did the interview in a couple of days, and that's where all this came from.
Man, that gunslinger was so sick. Holy crap. That was beautiful. All
Thanks,
your
man.
under the leg work is amazing too. You're extremely versed in that.
Yeah, that was one of those frameworks that I just really took to right when I found it. I originally got my first under the leg move from Logan. Saw him at Drum Circle actually out at Liberty Park. And
That's
yeah, I was just
hilarious.
like, wow, that is such a cool move. Like I've never seen anyone do that. And yeah, just added on, and then finally found that one where I was able to go like from the back to toss to the front, and that one was just still to this day one of my favorite moves that I found.
It's funny because I learned like a certain sequence about, I want to say like 8 years ago or something like that, but it is still one of my favorite things to do. And I think sometimes you just pick up a trick that you're like, as good as I get or as far as I go with poi, I'm always going to love this trick and be proud of that one. So yeah, I definitely understand that.
Yeah.
That's really cool. It's great seeing people get interviews and kind of spotlights on in the poi community, because it's really, I feel like it's been lacking almost. We need people to
Yeah.
be able to share their stories and show where they're at. Which kind of leads me to my next question. Tell me a little bit about your ideal training regimen, or like do you kind of approach it in a way where it's like, okay, I need to spend this many hours a day, or is it kind of just, oh, I'm feeling like spinning right now, I'm just going to go and jam and kind of freestyle for a little bit?
Yeah, more of the latter. I've definitely been really loose about how I train. I'm one of those people that once I get like too much structure, it's just not fun for me anymore. And then like
Mm,
I lose that motivation to actually do it. So if I were to like set a 2 hour block on my calendar tomorrow, it would be more likely that I wouldn't spend tomorrow. So
interesting,
uh,
interesting.
yeah,
I'm very structured in the way I go about my training, because right now my main goal is to get better with juggling, and that's kind of like a main priority for me right now. So I'll spend a couple hours juggling, but I definitely warm up with trying to get myself into the flow state and trying to freestyle at least for like an hour, a stretch, kind of get warmed up, get my mind loose, and then I'll try to do more difficult stuff that I'm really trying to learn. Because I feel like if you get into right into the difficult things, it's almost just like, man, why am I doing? This is so frustrating. Why am I doing this right now?
yeah,
you
kind of
know?
like you said, like that warm up definitely is important. And now that you mentioned that, like even though I don't really plan that, I definitely have that kind of warm up phase. Like I pick up my poi, I flow for a little bit, do some stuff that I'm comfortable with, and then all of a sudden you start to feel that creativity moving, and you start to feel your
Hmm.
ability kind of notch up a little bit, and you can start to do some harder stuff.
Exactly. And during the first couple hours for me personally, when I've gotten into my rhythm and I've gotten comfortable, nice and warmed up and loose, that's the time that I'm the most creative, and that's the time that I'm the most likely to do something new that I haven't come across before. Which I
Yeah.
feel like is a really crucial part. And you kind of have to like harness that energy almost to be creative sometimes, especially if you're walking in feeling a little bit off or whatever. You just maybe tired or whatever's going on, feeling a little bit stiff. I feel like that phase of warming up is so important to being creative.
Yeah, it can kind of kick you into that flow state. Like like you said, if you're not feeling it, it's not like that difficult to be able to do some moves that you feel comfortable with, really let yourself start to feel good about that, and then it kind of shifts your mindset a little bit. And then you're able to do some new things, create some new things, work on those harder tricks again. Yeah, it's so cool how flow arts is really connected to your mindset. I really love that dynamic.
It really is. It really is. And I mean, just for a quick example, when I got into three poi, I only got into three poi about 3 years ago, roughly.
Oh wow.
When I got into it, I wanted to learn no beat cascade so bad, and that was a trick that just eluded me for, I want to say, like a solid year and a half to 2 years. It took me to really learn it because I would try to learn it for a couple hours, and then I would come back the next day, and I'd keep grinding on it and try it again. And I feel like I made absolutely no progress at all. And it was just very discouraging because, it's like I can do a no beat, but no beat cascade is an extremely different timing. Even though I had been spinning poi for a long time, you haven't been juggling for a long time. And it's a different thing,
Yeah, that's kind of funny that you had your mindset on that from the beginning of three poi, because that's a really difficult move. Juggling to me is like a totally different framework than even spinning three poi is. But I really want to see people that do both, because anytime that happens, it's one of the coolest things to see.
Well, yeah, and I want to incorporate juggling into my style, into my spinning and contact style. So I want to take all my favorite parts of poi and just put it into a style that is like different, because we're all different and we all like certain different things. And so, juggling is just something that I've wanted to get better at for a long time, but it's not the same as two poi in a lot of ways, because with two poi, you'll like, if it's a spinning pattern, you might take a little bit of frustration hitting yourself and not getting it, but you're not dropping your poi 1,000 times a day and sore from literally bending over and to pick up your poi. I mean, like, that was why I had to start really stretching and getting serious about my pre routine, because I would get extremely sore from dropping my poi 1,000 times in a day, and having to pick it up and get it back after it and being so sore the next day. And I was like, I am not fucking juggling, so whatever.
Oh, that's really cool. I like that you were incorporating like general fitness into like increasing your ability to spin poi, because I don't know, it's like any other sport or activity, like we got to make sure our bodies are prepared for it.
Yeah, and it was something that I lacked on for so long because, I was just a poi spinner, but I think that the more my mindset shifted towards being a performer and a professional and really trying to do the best that I could possibly do, the more I started taking it seriously for like my mind state, being in the studio and everything that I just wanted everything to be right. Like as far as, my mental state, music, have just feeling right. And a lot of that includes stretching and, freestyling for a little bit and getting my creativity levels up. But yeah, juggling is definitely a different discipline, and it's been really an interesting shift for me. I think one of the things that helped me shift more towards that mindset was, in a weird way, seeing ᴘᴜᴘ's performance at Kindle. It was so groundbreaking for me, because ᴘᴜᴘ is not only an incredible poi spinner, but he is an incredible performer, and he really takes his stage presence to the next level. And the way that he moved on stage and his musicality was really next level. And he is so acrobatic and like flexible and athletic. And it was really inspiring for me to see a poi spinner include all of those aspects into one performance. It was fucking amazing.
Yeah, that performance was so cool. The idea behind it with like the music switching between speakers, that was such a cool idea. And then like his ability to perform and then like keep your attention and really just like get you enveloped in that performance. That's your whole world at the moment that you're watching it. That's one of the coolest things that performers can do.
Absolutely. And you had kind of mentioned that you more like teaching versus performing. Tell me a little bit more about that. Why do you have you applied to perform at any festivals?
Yeah, I have performed. Let's see. So I've done like stage performances just like next to the people who are playing music. I don't think. Oh, actually, I did do a showcase back at Quasar. It was like that was the first like that festival I mentioned earlier was like the first year and all that. So that was kind of cool, but I hadn't really like choreographed a super complicated piece, and so I didn't really get that satisfaction that maybe I could have if I had put that much effort into it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My first like major performance where it was just me on stage, not like I'm performing for a music artist or whatever their side events going around, but just it being you on stage and a big crowd, was Southwest Flow Fest. And I got the notice like 7 weeks out of the event. So I was like, okay, we're gonna have to get to work on choreographing an entire performance, because it was about a 5.5 minute performance. So when
Yeah.
you really think about how much time that is to be doing different things and keeping the
Yeah.
audience engaged and showcasing the years of work that you've put in, it was a huge undertaking, and it is very stressful. Even leading up to the performance is extremely stressful, for sure. I was very
Yeah.
nervous.
Yeah. How'd it go though? Was it a pretty victorious feeling afterwards?
You know, I'm the type of guy that I'm just never satisfied with myself ever,
Sure.
pretty much. Like sometimes I'll get a video that I'm really happy with, or I'll learn something that I'm really happy with. But I think what keeps me going and being a perfectionist on everything I do is because truly I don't ever feel like it was really where I wanted to get it. So the
Sure.
performance was really good objectively, but I was not okay. Like I was pretty upset with the fire performance
Oh,
because I had dropped a couple times, and I
sure.
I didn't want to drop. Of course, you run over it so many times and you're like, okay, I can do this without
Yeah.
dropping, without messing up. And then the energy
The
and the
nerves. Yeah.
stress and everything, and you're gonna mess up. And I'm glad that I had gone to Kindle and seen all these super high level artists that were performing, because even they dropped several
Yes.
times, almost
Yep.
every performance. I don't think anybody didn't drop, which is a little bit welcoming and makes me feel a little bit better, because none of us
Yeah.
are perfect. And it's just kind of that pushing ourselves. It's the balance between pushing ourselves and trying to do really difficult patterns while you're performing, but at the same time respecting your skill level and trying to do the things that you know that you can do, so it's an interesting balance for sure.
Yeah, that's a really cool thought. Yeah, maybe I need to put some more thought into performing again because one of the coolest things, this brought up another memory from Kendall last year. I just kind of went out in the circle and instead of like really trying to be techie and really trying to hit like all of my best moves, I just kind of felt and I really it was like a really emotional burn and um I just felt really expressive, and then afterwards, I had a couple people come up to me and be like, "That was like the best burn I've seen so far," and that was a really, really
Wow.
like gratifying feeling to be like, I just kind of went out there and I felt I didn't try to like impress, and it
I
worked out really
love
well.
that. I love that because a lot of the times, especially locally, people kind of know me as the three poi guy, and I'm kind of like the guy, for that kind of thing. So I feel like every time I'm performing or I'm just even burning around my friends and stuff, I feel the need to put on a show and
Yeah,
try to show people the difficult things that I'm doing. But I oftentimes find that my best performances, I'm just dialed in and I'm feeling what I'm doing, and I'm not focusing on, let's showcase my hardest difficulty moves.
yeah.
Let's just do what feels good and do the things that I really love to do, because you make those things look the best.
Yeah, exactly. And another funny thing that I've kind of discovered about this is like we have this idea of like this is a really hard trick and this is a really cool trick for people who spin poi, but sometimes those tricks don't even like make people who don't spin poi bat an eye at all. And it's really
Mm,
cool to find that dynamic between what makes poi spinners really go, "Oh, that was awesome," versus what makes an average person go, "That was really cool." And it's a very different move set that does that. Like doing a simple spiral wrap could blow someone's mind who's never seen poi before, rather than doing some crazy like tech pattern or something.
well, and me doing a no beat cascade, it does not even look that difficult. I mean, it looks hard, but
Yeah,
to the
yeah,
untrained eye, it's like, oh, he's just a juggler. Like, that's
yeah.
like cool.
Just
That's a
throwing
cool
stuff.
thing. That's a cool little trick. But for poi spinners, that's like, oh my god, he can do no
Yeah,
beat cascade. Like, it's a big
exactly.
deal, you know. But people don't understand the time that it went into that pattern, because it's such a frustrating one. Even just
Hmm.
something as simple as that one pattern, people don't really understand how many hours went into that, because
Yes, exactly.
man, a lot of hours went into that. But yeah, like you were saying, there could be a more simple trick that most poi spinners could do, but it would make the average person be like, oh my gosh, that was
Yeah.
amazing,
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, there is definitely a balance between finding the things that you really love doing and the crowd pleasing tricks to try to live up
Hmm.
to a performance and try to wow people and give that level of performance. But that's awesome. I really would love to see more people work on choreography and try to put together a piece, even a 5-minute performance, because you find that like when I first started doing it, I was like, man, 5.5 minutes, that is a lot of stuff. What am I going to do
Yeah.
for that long? But then when I had all the choreography planned and, 5.5 minutes out, I was like, wow, there's so much that I didn't even get in here. And I feel like I have to crunch and take out things that I maybe thought there could have been something better in its place. And so
Yeah.
you find that you actually know so much and that you have to just pick and choose the best things and the things that you want to do the most for the performance. Um,
That's
and I'm
cool.
sure
Yeah.
I'm sure that you would feel the same if you put together a choreography and did a whole piece. I'm sure that you
Yeah.
would feel the same way.
Well, because I feel like, and I've built like small sequences before for Instagram videos, so I feel like that's a little bit similar. But yeah, it's crazy because you start to push yourself for like, what are the coolest moves that I can fit in this time period? And yeah, you really start to realize how big your repertoire is. Like, we have so many moves that we've learned in the past several years that we've been spinning poi, so many that I probably have forgot about and just only
Mm-hmm.
find when I'm doing something like that or in the middle of a deep flow state or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. And I feel like when I was creating the choreography, I had to flow for a couple hours. And then whenever I did something that I was like, oh, what was that? That was something that I want to put in here. So I really tried to take the best of the things that I do and put it into a choreography. And it was really fun to try because with Instagram, I feel when I'm putting out videos nowadays, I want to put out videos with fresh moves and fresh things all the time. I want my videos to be always different than the last video. Um, but with a performance, I can take all my favorite stuff that I don't want to do all the time, and I can put it in the
Yeah.
performance. And the things that I really love and don't want to do all the time for videos, I can put it in a performance so that I can just show people this is my favorite thing to do with poi, which is
Yeah.
largely contact. Like I was saying, contact. My style is very oriented around tosses, contact, and like I love pirouettes. Oddly enough, I love pirouettes. They look
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah. You do them great. Yeah.
Yeah. Who are some of your favorite poi spinners right now?
Right now, you know, it's a good question. So I kind of have like a mixed list of people who maybe aren't as active right now versus like people who are more active. So I mentioned like Austin and Logan, like they don't spin as much as they used to anymore. But anytime they put out a video, I'm always still just like jaw to the floor. You guys
Of
have
course.
such a cool style.
Of course.
So I think they'll always be like at the top of my list. Connor Kilbane, like he's one of those people who I look at and I think like if I were to have spun like 10 years longer than I have, maybe I'd be like where Connor is. So he's
Shout
always
out to
super
Connor,
inspiring to
man.
me.
Oh my god, same. Every single video that this man puts out, I will watch at least a few times all the way
Yeah.
through because
Yeah.
his style is so dense, just like in a lot of ways, just my taste for density is very similar to his, even though we do different things and our styles look completely different. But the
Yeah.
way that we like to fill in the time that we have, I
Yeah.
really love what he does. So yeah, those
Yeah.
are solid people to have on your list. Any
Yeah.
like three poi artists that you're liking right now?
Three point. Honestly, I don't spend that much time on Instagram these days. Like I kind of just get on there to post every now and then. But like you're kind of one of the only people that I've really been watching spend three point lately. And like I said earlier, you've been
Oh yeah.
killing it, been improving big time. So it's been really cool to watch that.
Thanks, man.
Um,
Yeah, three poi is a
yeah.
different animal for sure. It's not the most common, I'd say. But yeah, there are several people who are really pushing three poi right now, and it's awesome to see. And I really like the diversity. That's why I'm trying to get Connor to spin more three poi. Motherfucker, you
Yeah.
better,
Yeah.
because
Get
his
on
three
it.
poi is so dope, man. It's crazy. I want to see him
Yeah.
push three poi more, and you as well, because I was actually scrolling through your Instagram and I was seeing that you've really been posting two poi more often than three. Like you haven't even posted a
Mhm.
three poi clip in quite a while. So,
Yeah, it's been a couple
hey,
of years.
and you were talking about kind of going back to three poi and getting back or going back to two poi and getting on the basics to apply them to three poi. Do you think you've found a new love for two poi in a way with the time that you've been spending on two?
Yeah, 100%. Something about Tupoi, like kind of like you said earlier, ⴕ is really cool because it has that perfect amount of stimulation, that like beep, 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 that kind of like triplet kind of feeling. But you can find that with ⴕ as well, kind of with that density. Like if you're really aggressive about trying to find that density, it can be just as stimulating. And once I found like manipulations, box patterns, all of that kind of stuff, I really just kind of fell in love with that. There's just an infinite amount of things that you can even do with ⴕ. So yeah, I've just been having a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, truly, truly. There is a limitless amount of things to do with ⴕ. So as hard as the trick that you're doing with ⴕ is, or could be with ⴕ, I feel like it's how do you put it together? How is the whole thing fit together? The style, because there could be a really tough trick that you're doing with ⴕ, but what did you do before it, and what did you do after it, and how did you fit it into the overall flow and the sequence? I feel like that's kind of the most unique things that I'm looking for right now when I am watching poi spinners. And I understand not being on like Instagram a whole lot, but I think that I'm more motivated to be on Instagram and to look at people's videos because I want to see what people are doing. I want to see what people are jamming on. And sometimes I will see somebody do something. I'm like, man, I could do that. That looks really cool. That looked awesome. I should try to incorporate that into a style,
Yeah. There are a couple other people that I did want to mention. Tim obviously has always been like a big inspiration for me. Like he kind of really laid the framework for what modern poi is, I feel like, in a lot of ways. But one person that has really been like coming up lately that I've been really impressed with, who has like picked things up really quickly, is Kendrick, or like Eating Shrooms on Instagram.
Oh man.
Yeah, I didn't
Same.
see him pop up until pretty recently, and then all of a sudden he's just like one of my favorite spinners to watch.
I love that you mentioned him because I've never seen anybody's double staff that I liked more ever. And I'm not hating on double staff. I'm just not like a huge double staff fan, but his double staff is amazing. Holy, he does some incredible things. His manipulation base is so good. And what's crazy is he hasn't even been spinning for that long at all.
Right.
It's
right.
insane.
Blows my mind. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Very, very happy that you mentioned him. He's somebody that I would love to get on the podcast as well. If you're watching this, you better consider coming on.
Yeah, hit him up.
Cool, man. Well, so we kind of already had talked about this a little bit, but I have a segment on the podcast where I have fans write in and ask questions for me to ask live on the air. And like I said, we had talked a little bit about this, but Lucas Hester, or Mr. Knots on Instagram, go check him out. He wrote in and asked, it's an easy question, but I genuinely want to know, what's your favorite poi style to watch? So this could be, isolations, or like really heavy body movement, or juggling, contact, or your box style that you love. What do you look for in a poi spinner?
Yeah, I think I have maybe two answers to this. So first one that came to my mind immediately was manipulation style. So I think of, again, Logan, Austin, Connor, just so good with like these little movements that treat the poi not as a thing that you're spinning, but just as an object. And you don't have to spin the poi. You can move it in all sorts of ways. So I love that about manipulation styles. But the other thing that I would say is I love the mix of styles. So anytime that I see someone mix pattern spinning with manipulations, with tosses, with contact, I love that because it's really taking all of the possibilities with poi and finding the transitions between all of those moves. And it creates this really cool big style to, like when it's all together.
Yeah, I think the most fun poi styles to watch are ones that are extremely dynamic. People who are not limited to one style of poi, but they really take their favorite aspects of all of it and put it in together, which is one of the reasons Connor is my favorite artist, because he has great contact. His flower game is amazing. Like 3D is amazing. His manipulations, he just puts everything into a style where it's just like, we've never seen anybody do it like that, straight up.
Yeah.
It's
so
very
cool.
unique. Yeah, cool. Okay, I really appreciated that answer, man. Well, tell us, of course, Joey, if you want to show people where we can find Nate on Instagram, he's innate poi on Instagram. Tell us about things that you have coming up as far, it could be really anything you want. How can we support you? How can we help you out?
Yeah, well, ⴰᴜᴘᴜ on Instagram is the main platform that I'm on. I don't think I have anything other than that. Like, follow Mainflow on Fire, follow the Mainflow on Fire YouTube channel as well, because I do post tutorials on there every now and then. But yeah, that's pretty much it. You know, give me a follow. I always love seeing comments. Send me messages. I love talking to people.
He
So yeah.
does. And Nate, you're also extremely active in local politics in Utah, which is something that I find extremely admirable. In what ways can we like support our local community, not just by going out to vote, but by doing something more than that? Like you're extremely active. So tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about that.
Yeah, I really appreciate that question. The biggest thing that I would say is that I think you're right that voting isn't necessarily enough right now. I think that everyone should vote and everyone should do their research when they're voting, but we also need like activism right now. We need people that are going out there and trying to change the laws about the issues that they care about. So what I work on is election reform, just because I feel like if we don't fix the system that elects the people that make all the decisions, then nothing else is going to get fixed, obviously. So that's what I work on here in Utah. You can always go to utahapproves.org. We have a donate button on there. Is always massively helpful. And if you're in Utah, we always appreciate volunteers, but highly encourage anyone in other states and other places to look into election reform policies.
Really appreciate that, man. I'm always blown away by your knowledge on just really politics in general and all of the common sense kind of things that you stand for. So if you guys want to chat with Nate about any of that, he is extremely knowledgeable, well versed on that. So yeah, you're a guest that I've been really excited to have on because I feel like you're extremely well spoken. You have a lot to offer as far as knowledge and your love and overall passion for the art. So I just wanted to say thank you so much again for coming on. And it was a really fun episode. We definitely have to
Yeah.
link up at some time. Hopefully I should come down to Utah in the next couple months, but it would be
Yeah.
great to see you.
Yeah,
Hang out and
absolutely.
have
Yeah,
a little fire jam.
Yeah, this has been really fun. I appreciate you having me on. And yeah, definitely let me know if you're coming to Utah. I might come up to Idaho sometime soon, but if not, then definitely Kansas
Yeah,
this
you
year.
should. You should. Boise, you would love the scene up here. It's kind of like a smaller Utah in a sense because we have our community is much more like close
Cool.
because there's not so many of us, but we were all just kind of circling each other, which is very nice. So
Yeah,
we
that's
have a little
awesome.
tight community up here. But yeah, if you come through, let me know. But it's pretty much going to wrap it up. We got through a ton of stuff today, so
Yeah.
we're going to peace out. But thank you so much for coming on again, and we'll have to do this again.
Yeah, thanks, definitely.
All right, peace out, Nate. Thank you.
Yeah.